What is the real story of Jack and the Beanstalk? Well, the origin story of Jack and the Beanstalk is rooted in English folklore, with its most famous early version being published in 1734 under the title The Story of Jack Spriggins and the Enchanted Bean. However, the version most people know today was first recorded and popularized by Joseph Jacobs in English Fairy Tales, published in 1890. Like many fairy tales, Jack and the Beanstalk has evolved over time, but the basic elements remain the same. Now listen to this terrible story through my lens. Long ago, in a village shrouded by mist and shadow, there lived a boy named Jack. He was no hero, just a poor lad with nothing but a sickly cow and a heart full of dreams that had long since turned to dust. Jack's home was a crumbling cottage at the edge of the forest, where whispers drifted through the trees, telling tales of monsters that lurked in the darkness. His mother, worn down by hunger and sorrow, had little more to offer him than a weary sigh. One day, when the cow's milk dried up, like a well in a drought, Jack's mother sent him to the market. "Sell the cow," she said, her voice a husk of what it once was. "Get what you can, or we'll starve." Jack nodded, his feet dragging along the muddy path to the village, his mind heavy with the weight of the desperation. Along the way, he met a man, a stranger cloaked in rags, his eyes glittering like the depths of a dark well. "A good day for business, what did you say?" the man croaked, his voice raspy like dead leaves scraping the ground. Jack blinked, wary as the man held out a handful of beans, black as night. "These beans are magical," the man said, his grin revealing teeth as sharp as broken glass. "They'll bring you fortune beyond your wildest dreams." Something in the man's gaze seemed to pierce Jack's soul. Despite the warnings that echoed in his head, he felt his hand move, felt the cow's rope slip from his fingers, and took the beans. As soon as the cow was gone, the man disappeared into the fog, his laughter lingering long after he was out of sight. Jack returned home, clutching his beans to his chest like a talisman. But when his mother saw them, her face twisted in rage and despair. "You fool!" she screamed, and with a trembling hand, she flung the beans out the window, into the darkness. Jack watched them vanish into the night, feeling the cold grip of failure tighten around his heart. That night, a storm howled through the village, tearing at the rooftops and screaming through the trees. Jack tossed and turned, his dreams filled with dark shadows and distant thunder. When dawn broke, Jack awoke to a sight that stole his breath. A beanstalk thick as a tower, stretching up from the earth into the sky, disappearing into the stormy clouds above. Compelled by a strange and irresistible urge, Jack began to climb. The beanstalk's tendrils wrapped around his limbs, pulling him higher and higher until the ground was nothing more than a distant memory. At last, he reached the top, and what lay before him was a sight both wondrous and terrifying. A castle, its spires piercing the clouds, and the talons of a great beast. Jack crept toward the castle, the wind whispering warnings in his ears. The gates looming before him, and he slipped inside, his footsteps echoing in the vast, empty halls. He could hear the low rumble of a giant snore vibrating through the stone like a tremor deep within the earth. Peering around the corner, Jack saw him, a giant, his head crowned with wild hair, his eyes shut in slumber. Beside him lay a hen that glimmered with golden feathers, and a harp that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. Jack's heart pounded as he crept closer, every muscle tense. Every breath a whisper, his fingers closed around the hen, and he turned to leave, but then a voice that rumbled like a distant storm filled the room. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman, the giant muttered. His eyes still closed, Jack froze, the blood turning to ice. He waited, breath held until the giant's snoring resumed. Then he fled, clutching the hen tight to his chest. Jack returned to the castle, twice more, stealing the giant's treasures. The golden eggs that never stopped laying, the harps that played by itself, singing songs that could lull even the darkest heart. But in his final visit, Jack's luck ran out. As he snatched the harp, it cried out a wail that echoed through the castle like the cries of the damned. The giant's eyes snapped open, filled with a hunger older than time. He rose a mountain of flesh and of bones, his footsteps shaking the very ground. Jack ran, his legs pumping. The giants roared, filling the air like thunder. He reached the beanstalk and began to climb. The giant's breath hot on his heels, each step a quake that threatened to rip the world apart. Jack scrambled down the beanstalk, screaming for his mother. She appeared, axe in hand, her face pale with fear. With a desperate swing, she hacked at the beanstalk, the blade biting deep. The beanstalk shuddered and began to fall, the giant tumbling down with it, his roar turning into a scream that split the sky. He crashed to the ground, his body shattering the earth, his eyes still wide with shock. Jack and his mother stared at the broken form of the giant, the wind carrying away the last echoes of his cry. With the giant's death, the darkness lifted. Jack and his mother had their treasures, their wealth, but the shadows still lingered in the corners of their minds. A reminder of the day. Jack climbed into the clouds and faced the monster that lived above. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind howled and the house creaked, Jack could still hear the giant's voice, whispering in the darkness, calling for the blood of an Englishman. Lovely tale, don't you think? That origin story is too nice for me. I have a much darker continuation story. You can watch this through my YouTube shorts or just go over to TikTok to see them first. Comment your favorite part of the story or what story you'd like me to narrate next. And as always, like and subscribe if you like what you see. Until next time, this is Dark Magic signing out. See you in your nightmares.